Reverend Peterson, what do we do? What is the message? I mean, you're preaching a message of love, but you're one of a few to young black men, let's say in prison or before they're in prison, on the streets with little hope. And they're hearing from rap artists and seeing in the neighborhood that the nicest cars are driven by the guys dealing drugs. They're mad. What is the answer?
Well, the first answer is that men and women of God must start telling the truth, because this is a battle between good and evil, and only truth can change that. So we have to start telling the truth. And then we have to do all we can to restore families, because of the role that the man play in life or live, in that he represents God on earth. He's not God, but he represents God, and he has a responsibility to protect his wife and children spiritually and financially. We must restore the family. And then thirdly is that we got to be careful who we vote for, because it is we the people, not we the government. And because white Americans thought that by giving black people a president, a black, liberal, democratic president, that somehow or another black people are going to realize that they are not against them. And I tried to tell them that that's not going to change the hearts and minds of most black people. You can't give them a material thing in order to change their hearts. You have to give them the truth. And things have only gotten worse in giving black Americans Barack Obama, because now you're not allowed to disagree with him. If you disagree, you are racist. Look what they're trying to do to Donald Trump at this point, calling him a racist. So we got to tell the truth in order to change the hearts and minds of black people, because real racism today is coming more from black people toward whites than it is from whites toward blacks. We have to be careful who we vote for. We got to vote in people who represent the principles that we believe in, and restore the family so we can put God's order back together.
Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, yesterday I read the report about the NFL players. One of the news stations somewhere had made the claim that, you know, it's going to start hurting the families of the NFL players. And the article seemed to think this was perfectly normal. An example they used was Antonio Cromartie with the New York Jets. Here's a guy that has 9 children from 8 women spread across the country, none of whom he knows. I haven't seen the video clip, but a listener sent me a review of it. Apparently they asked him to name his children. He couldn't name them all, much less give the ages. And here's a guy who is an opinion leader, who is a role model to a lot of people. And I know he didn't ask to be, but it just seems like, and I know this wasn't always the case in America amongst certain blacks, but it just seems like it has become the case that these folks are celebrated. How many seeds can they plant across the country? And I'm imagining, maybe it does take a village for certain people because there's no dad there.
That's right. You know, there was a report that was a study that was done at the University of Michigan about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and it said that of the white women who are having children, 22% of them are having them with different men. In the Hispanic community, 32% of the women are having children with different men. But in the black community, a whopping 59% of black women are having children by different men. It's so common nowadays because the embarrassment of it, the shame of it, has been removed. And these black men, they have no sense of self-control or respect for themselves, for the women or the children. And as long as we reward that instead of repudiating it or rebuking it, it's never going to get better. The shame is absolutely gone, Michael. When I grew up on that plantation down in Alabama, if a black woman got pregnant out of wedlock, she would have to have a shotgun wedding, or they would pretend that she moved up north somewhere until she had the baby. And then she and the father would have to be responsible for that child, so that they will learn that it's not easy to have children out of wedlock. That's gone now as a result of the government taking over, and black people, for the most part, have been given a free pass to be immoral. That's what you see happening here.
Let me ask you, Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, when you look across the landscape, there are a lot of poverty pimps, and you've called them by name. I admire you for that. But who do you see out there, not just politicians, but who do you see out there in positions of leadership and public opinion makers that you say, there's another ministry, there's another individual standing strong that you are proud of, that can give us a little hope?
Wow, that's a very, very, very good question. And as you were speaking, I'm trying to think of one. And offhand, and I've spoken at different churches, and I know people, but offhand, I don't know of anyone.
On occasion, Bill Cosby has moments of brilliance, and then he seems to sort of lapse back into, well, I have to win favor amongst a certain subset. But on occasion, he has strokes of brilliance.
Yeah, he does, but I think Bill Cosby still has an issue with the race issue. I don't think he's completely over that yet, and that's why you see him tripping at times. You know, he's right about what needs to happen as far as the families are concerned within the black community, but I think what causes him to cross the line there at times is his hatred of white Americans. He has not let that go, and that's the problem in most of the black churches too, is that most of these black preachers are racist. And as a result of being racist, they are not able to function as men and women of God, because you can't serve two masters. You either love one or hate the other. So you can't hate your fellow man and claim to love God. And it's kind of holding them back. So I'm sure there are some, Michael, but at this point I can't think of any.
Wow, that's sad. The name of your book?
It's real sad.
The name of your book again?
It's a scam. How the black leadership exploits black America. And I write in all honesty and truth about what really happened to black folks and what is still happening. And I put the proof in there to back it up as well.
Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, thanks for being with us.